to Generations
of X, Part 2, Take 2, because the computer messed up and now we're here again.
But we're here to talk about another goddess, a goddess by the name of Scarlet Witch. And we're here to decide the fate of Scarlet Witch. And look, if you listen to this podcast, you know I am a diehard Wanda fan. I love Wanda. But D'Manda and Flink, I want to know your thoughts. Well, I know Flink's thoughts, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no huge Wanda fan. So D'Manda, you might be breaking this tie.
So let's hear your thoughts on Wanda.
So I like Wanda. Wanda is probably my favorite Avenger. Most of the stories that I read growing up of the Avengers usually had some sort of like Wanda base in them, because like I knew that, again, my favorite issue, like one of my favorite issues of all time is tied to the X of Vengeance, the whole Psylocke body swap. And so I was like, oh, the X of Vengeance like happens across the line. So like, what's the other thing? And that's when Magneto like uses Wanda, because, you know, she's having another breakdown, because that's what she does. And when she chopped off all her hair and wore that terrible magenta with a red cape, and it's like, girl, those colors don't go together.
For Wanda, I agree. That was a low point.
So I mean, obviously I need to have that look because it's a look. But yeah, like so like that was one of the first like Wanda stories that I read, and you know, again, as a classic character, which I love a lot of classic characters. She was very interesting, and also like the fact that it's that sort of like she was a villain, but she really wasn't. Like she was kind of like, I'm just kind of here because like I have to be, but I really don't want to. Like she was kind of like, I don't want to do any of this, but I guess so. Like, cool. Like he like saved us and whatever, and you know, Pietro seems to be okay with this, so like, all right, because like she hated the Toad, she hated Mastermind. She was like, you guys are creepy and disgusting, and I want nothing to do with you. And then she was like, hey, Captain America, like, let's go party.
Who wouldn't be like that with Captain America?
Oh my God, Chris Evans. Hello, hi, here.
Hi. About here.
And listeners, she's pointing at her face. So we can talk about Chris. We're gonna have you back for that episode. But wait, D'Manda, before we get into our deep feels about Wanda, I feel like we should have an objective look at her history. Do you want to tell us about Wanda and her?
Sure. So I'm going to see if I can remember, because again, this is our second time going over this. I'm going to see if I can all of my points that I made. So Wanda first appeared in back then it was just X-Men. X-Men number 4, as a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. You find out that she and her twin brother, Quicksilver, Wanda accidentally like, you know, set a barn on fire or something. And so like the village like tried to kill them, and Magneto was like, no, don't hurt them. They're mutants. Spoiler alert. But so anyway, so out of gratitude, they join the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and neither of them really fit in. Like as I said, like she didn't like anybody. She was like, this is weird, this is gross, like whatever. And also in later retcons of like that time in like X-Men Hidden Years and stuff, like she and Jean like hung out a few times.
Oh,
sure.
No, I love those. I'm forgetting.
Yeah, like they like hung out because you know they're just gals about town in New York City.
They went shopping.
That's what gals do.
But also, back then, women had 4 jobs they could have: model, charter pilot, housewife, superhero. Like that was
charter pilot.
Hello, Carol Danvers, Betsy Braddock. When her first appearances, she was a charter pilot. Madeline Pryor.
Yes.
Like
Lee Foster. Lee Foster.
No, Lee Foster.
Lee is a boat captain.
Oh, is she a boat captain? I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're being very specific here.
Very specific. But still, like, charter pilot, it's apparently a career option, in case you remember. Especially for very hot ladies who are also part-time models. Because, like, Jean was a model. Like, that... Betsy was both. She was a charter pilot and then a model and a spy at the same time. Oh. Anyway, sorry.
Back to Wanda.
Back to Wanda. So Wanda and Pietro are like, okay, Magneto, bye. We're out. And they go join the Avengers because apparently once you're a villain, you should like go join the Avengers. So she was a part of Captain America's first team Avengers with her, Quicksilver, and Hawkeye. And she was one of the longest running members of the Avengers. During that time, she also met and fell in love with, well, first of all, she had some like romantic feels with Hawkeye for a little bit. She had some romantic feels with Wonder Man. It was like kind of like, oh, you're cute. And then he died because that's what you do in comic books. And so, but then when they used Wonder Man to create an android, or Ultron did, Vision, eventually she fell in love with this robot because she loves things that are complicated. And so they fell in love and they decided they were going to get married and leave the Avengers and go live in New Jersey. And they got wrapped up in like some hijinks with Wonder Man's brother who wanted to kill Vision because reasons. And also with like the, what were they called? Like the Salem 7.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
7, and so she gathered all the magics of all of the witches to like defeat them. And apparently, with all of that magic, she also made herself pregnant because that's a thing that one does. And
what happened during that series too? Crystal was having an affair with someone from New Jersey.
I mean, because listen, she's just a small town girl from Adelan or whatever that place is called. And she just wanted to experience something new, and New Jersey is new.
And everyone thought that she was under like some kind of spell or something.
and she's like, no, Quicksilver's just a dick. She's like, no. She's like, have you not met him? He's
like, who wouldn't want to cheat on him?
Yeah, he is a dick. So also you find out, so originally, we think that she's this Romani woman from Eastern Europe, from the Maximoff family, but then, oh no, she's actually this foundling child, and she's potentially the daughter of the Wizard and the original Miss America.
What a name.
The Wizard. Which is funny. So I do a art stream on Tuesdays, everyone, with my friend Jay Justice, and so I was coloring this picture, Alan Davis, Women of Marvel, and they actually put Miss America above the Scarlet Witch, and I just thought that was an interesting choice. It was just an interesting choice, first of all, to have Miss America in a photo. Anyway, but then the realty comes at the end of that second, I believe it's the second Scarlet Witch and Vision series, or Vision and Scarlet Witch, whatever. That it's actually Magneto is her dad. Bump, bump, bump. And so she has the twins, and Magneto's like, oh, grandchildren, because this is also in the middle of like Magneto's like hero arc where he is now a part of the X-Men and wears that actually really hot costume with the giant M on his chest. I'm not gonna lie, that Magneto suit was.
When Daddy came for Thanksgiving dinner, and I was just like, oh, he looks so hot. But he was trying to be part of Wanda and Pietro's life, because it was at the end of the first series, and then the second series picks up with Wanda pregnant and him coming to Thanksgiving.
So she has these twins, William and Thomas. And so like her friend Agatha Harkness and Doctor Strange are also trying to hone her mutant powers by using like real magic. So she actually like becomes like a for real witch. So come to find out that actually she didn't really have kids. These are like splinter souls of Mephisto that she like willed into these children. And when she doesn't think about them, the babysitter is like, oh, by the way, your kids just disappear. Like they're only here when you want them to be. So anyway, chaos ensues, and like Lord Chthon, is that how you say his name? Chton, I don't know. So you find out that like he's the one who like did all of that, and apparently he was there on Mount Wondergore when Wanda was born, and he tried to infuse his chaos magics into Wanda because she was just supposed to be like an energy wielding mutant like his dad, but because he like cast spells, she now does chaos magic, which sure, Jan. So anyway. So yada yada yada, like nothing like super major happens. Like she brings she gets divorced from Vision because like the some company like rips his brains out and then he turns white because, I don't know, design choices. And so then like, he doesn't have feelings for her anymore because he's a robot. And so then she's sad. So then she brings Wonder Man back to life, and then they like have an affair, and that makes Vision mad. And so then, honestly, this is all Janet Van Dyne's fault. All of it.
Fuck
so
off.
She and Janet are just like hanging out by the pool. And at the time, Janet is totally having an affair with Hawkeye. And Scarlet Witch is starting to like date Captain America, which is actually kind of hot. So they're just like chilling, right? And all of a sudden, Janet's just like haphazardly goes, "Oh, don't you remember when you like had kids?" And Wanda's like, "No." And she's like, "Oh, wait, I shouldn't have said anything."
And then she like walks away sipping.
Yeah. And then she like walks away. And so then Wanda's like, "What the fuck is she talking about?" Like,
I love that panel because she like pulls down her sunglasses and it zooms in on her and she's like crying, or not crying, but you can see her pain.
Yeah, she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Janet?" Anyway, so now Wanda has this full breakdown, and it's called Avengers Disassembled, and she like brings all of like the chaos magics in, and she like brings like this alien army in and kills Hawkeye because she's like, "Guess what, Janet?" Then she brings Vision back and totally makes him explode and melt in like this crazy nonsense. She kills Jack of Hearts because no one cares about Jack of Hearts. She accidentally does kill the second Ant-Man, who is lovely. Poor Paul Rudd. But that's the reason that we have Stature, who's amazing. So anyway, so she tries to kill everybody. So at the end of the whole disassembled thing, Magneto, who has just died in New York, magically appears and takes Wanda away to Genosha. What do you say? Like, that's total nonsense and craziness. So then there's this whole other thing with Magneto, which, again, this is why sometimes I get really mad at editorial for like not talking to each other. So anyway, so then Wanda's on Genosha and still having like this breakdown, but like Xavier and Magneto and even Quicksilver like trying to help her and like, no, like let's see what she does. But the X-Men and Avengers meet and they're like, "No, we need to totally fucking kill Wanda. We just need to kill Caesar. Like we just need to kill her. Like, sorry about it. Like, she's gotta go. Like, she's definitely a problem." So when they go, Pietro has her create the House of M. I also feel like I'm like really delving deep into this part, which is probably not that big a deal. So House of M happens where she creates an alternate universe. They snap her out of it. And that's when she utters the iconic phrase, "No more mutants," because she's mad at Magneto. She's mad at everything and being used and abused by all of these people. And she disappears and the world is set right. However, it's now awkward because she has depowered over 98% of all of the mutants on the planet. The ones that don't matter. Except for Danny Moonstar.
And Jubilee. Oh, poor Jubilee. I was like, oh God, did she freeze?
No, I'm gonna let you have that. You get one. I'm just kidding. But technically she also depowered Lorna.
True.
Her powers actually came from Apocalypse, which, again, we're not going to talk about that. I think that's a huge fucking problem, but apparently everybody was fine.
Totally fine. Just here, have some Apocalypse blood.
Exactly. In Gambit, like totally fine.
Yeah, Gambit, and then Iceman too thought he lost his powers, but it was only psychological.
Bitch, that's because she was so repressed. Like she didn't know what she should be repressing. She just had so many feelings and emotions about everything. Bless his heart. So anyway, then but apparently she gets kidnapped by Dr. Doom because he needed to be involved. And he creates this Doom bot of her and sets her out in Transia, which Hawkeye then goes having sex with because that's the thing that we do.
Sure.
And
because it's a fuck you to.
So he's like, "You try to kill me," and she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a sweet peasant girl. You're right. We should have sex." And she's like, "Okay," but she was a robot, and Hawkeye couldn't tell. Just saying. Dr. Doom apparently is really good at making robots. He's really good.
Or Hawkeye's just really horny and not paying that much attention.
Or Hawkeye's just really pretty and horny.
Or he is terrible at sex. So anyway, so then we find out that during all of this time and all of this like crazy nonsense, her children have actually been reimagined as these twin boys, Wiccan and Speed, who kind of have like her and her brother's powers, which is kind of crazy. Who also happen to look like Magneto. I'm just saying. I'm looking at you, Marvel. I'm looking at you. So, yada yada yada. Fighting ensues. She's no longer like controlled by Doctor Doom or whatever, and she tries to help recreate mutants. Then there's the whole like AVX nonsense, which was terrible. So like they tried to like yeah. So like she and Hope tried to, you know, because like Hope was a whole thing, which we talked about before. So now we're at the point where, you know, she's kind of being like, oh, she's a hero again. Like, that's so great. Like, isn't that wonderful? And but then Axis happens, and you find out that actually the High Evolutionary totally brainwashed everybody, and that Wanda and Pietro are not, in fact, Magneto's children, but just like some random Romani children that he stole and like messed with their DNA and was like, cool, your failed experiment, so I'm just like releasing you into the world or whatever. And they're like, how can this be? We shouldn't look into this at all because he has no ulterior motive to tell us this. That's kind of where we are now. Yeah. I'm sure there's some things that I kind of like glossed over, but I think I hit on like the big.
You hit on all the big stuff.
Yeah, you nailed that. You got all the important stuff.
But wait, I want to know. So Flinkman, after hearing this wonderful, beautiful history on Wanda Maximoff, how could you hate her?
I mean, look. I can't deny that we've gotten some good stuff with Wanda. We've gotten some interesting character moments here and there. But like overall, it for me, it comes down to two things. Number one, her powers are bullshit, and whatever the writer wants them to be in the moment, bullshit.
Fair.
But moreover, as a huge X-Men fan, which I'm sure that is news to everyone, news to all of our listeners. As a huge X-Men fan, you know, I hate what she did in House of M. I can't deny that we wouldn't have gotten stories like Messiah Complex, which, you know, for whatever Hope turned out to be, Messiah Complex was incredible. It's my favorite X-Men crossover, but it took 3 years just to get to that story. And you would think that, like, if you were going to have an Avenger completely upend the mutant status quo, that there would have been like a plan for like how they're going to deal with it. And there wasn't. There was only a plan to elevate the Avengers over the X-Men and kick off that whole decade of mutant marginalization. And that was all because of Wanda and her daddy issues. So I have like a very personal like grudge against her for what she did to the X-Men. Like, is she a decent character sometimes?
Her fault. It was editorial. It was editorial who hijacked.
So here's the thing. Like flip-flopping between like editorial reasons for doing some nonsense and in-character stuff. Because you kind of have to look at it, both ways. So number one, her powers are bullshit. They always have been bullshit. She suffers as the same as Jean Grey and Sue Storm, that 1960s girls can't do cool stuff, so we have to give them these powers that either kind of work or don't really work, or they're underpowered or overpowered, and like they can save the day, but they still get captured a lot, and so like they have to like do stuff, but it doesn't get to work all the time, because like her original powers, she literally would like wave her hand and she never knew if it was going to do what she wanted it to do.
Right. She was just hoping. Yeah.
She was like, please do something. So that was the big problem. And it wasn't until much later when like she really kind of became a little better at it. But at the same time, her powers have always been this is what we need to have happen. So we're just gonna have Wanda do it because it'll work. Right.
And that's my problem with her. She's a MacGuffin almost. It was done in a way that I don't know.
So even though I agree with you on the fact that it does suck that it was an Avenger character. So that's kind of like my issue with Wanda in general, is that they didn't want her to be a part of like the X-Men, because it's like, if she didn't want to be a villain, I don't understand why she just didn't join the X-Men.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, I don't understand, but I guess they wanted to see like this whole idea of mutants, which was still new, back in the day, and what it would mean to have them on the Avengers, which was still like their kind of A-list. I mean, let's be honest, they're B-list because the Fantastic Four was still like at the time the Marvel pinnacle. So you like, you know, like she was still like now a B hero instead of like the C heroes, which is at the time where the X-Men were. So like it's just interesting that that's what they did with her, but she still has like those tied roots back to the X-Men. So it's like I understand they want her to still be a part of like the Marvel mutant narrative in general, and I think that it's important that she still is a part of that. So, and again, I agree with you in the fact that like that sucks that like she did that to all of the mutants, right? Like it totally sucks, all because of her daddy issues. But again, Magneto's an asshole. Pietro's an asshole. It sucks.
It's on brand for the
Okay.
family.
Well, wait, if we're going to talk about Wanda's daddy issues, I want to call out Bova, because fuck Bova for telling
First of
the
all-
wizard, like after this woman comes in, gives birth to twins, and then leaves and dies, presumably over exposure.
Yeah.
And then Miss America comes in, gives birth, dies, and the child is stillborn. And like Bova should just tell the wizard the truth instead of
all of this nonsense.
all this nonsense. And so Wanda grew up before we had that issue with her where she found out about those things. She grew up completely embracing her powers, completely being a confident girl. And then boom, everything happened. So I don't blame Wanda for her daddy issues or anything going on. The world took a very powerful, smart female character, and then they started lying to her, manipulating her, using her for personal gain. And that's where I feel when we get no more mutants, although very catastrophic for the mutant community, I can empathize.
So
I can be empathetic, excuse me. I can be empathetic with Wanda.
My other, so like the point that I was going towards is if we hadn't have had that, think of all of the stories that we would not have had. We would not have had new X-Men and that crop of students like be as freaking badass as they are, even though they continually get shoved to the side.
Are we talking about the cast that because of Wanda's actions got blown up in a bus?
Yes, but those stories are amazing, right?
Oh yes, but you know, Wanda has no culpability for that.
And I'm not saying that she shouldn't, because she totally fucking does. But because another great Emma moment is during Civil War when Carol comes in and she's all being, because remember when Carol left the X-Men when they came back and Rogue was a part of the team and she was like, I'm going back to space.
Betrayed.
Like, fuck you guys, I'm going to space. So she was like on her super fucking high horse, right? And so then she shows up and she's like, hey guys, remember we used to be friends. And first of all, it's Emma and Cyclops and they're like, I guess, like maybe.
Who are you?
Yeah, it's like, sure. They're like, didn't you have a drinking problem? I don't know. Who are you again? So like she shows up and she's like, you guys, like we need your help. Like these kids died in this whole thing. And Emma's like, oh, I'm sorry. We have another funeral scheduled in 5 minutes. And I have to go make a phone call to another parent to let them know that their kids died. And I then have to go bury this other kid whose parents completely abandoned them when they found out that they were a mutant. So you can go take your Avengers sorry ass and get the fuck out. Because when our kids are dying, where were you?
Exactly. Right. And I will give you props for that, because New X-Men was at the time the only, and again, New X-Men, the student book, it was the only book that actually did anything with the concept of decimation
and like made it real. Because it was that next generation of those kids. They were the ones who were the most affected.
Yes,
and it was great. And also at the same time, we wouldn't have gotten the Young Avengers, which were another amazing book, and also starting to give us like actual queer representation in books.
I mean, look, Billy and Tommy are the best things about Wanda. I'll give you that.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well, and I want to also throw in Endangered Species from a narrative perspective where Beast sits down and talks to Wanda, whether it's a Doombot Wanda or whatever. At the time, it was supposed to be Wanda.
I mean, Beast wouldn't have known the difference either.
Yeah, fuck Beast. But hey, fuck Beast for not knowing the difference between a robot and a living human being. But
I mean, at least didn't stick.
He's not a doctor.
Not a doctor. Hashtag not a doctor. But
hashtag not a doctor. But also, he didn't stick his dick in it, so we don't know. Because Hawkeye is also not a doctor.
But it was a very beautiful conversation, and I still think back to that moment. You know, the story's about to break, and the stakes are going to get higher when Wanda says to Beast, "I'm telling you to back off. Don't ask who I am." And she gets up and she hands him the broken clock, and it's at 0 hour, and Beast realizes there's no way to reverse what happened with the mutants. And that, when you're going into Messiah Complex, is so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, but
from a narrative perspective.
It took
then it didn't pay off.
3 years to get there. It took us
But
3
it's gonna
years,
take
and
3
it was
years. No matter what stories need to marinate editorially.
no. Okay, now that's my thing. That's my thing with it is I don't think that this was a story they had marinating. I think that was Mike Carey polishing a turd.
Well, I mean, but you're always going to have You're always going to have writers coming in and polishing turds, because you're going to have fillers in between the ends of the stories.
Well, I just would have liked for Uncanny X-Men and Adjectiveless X-Men to have tackled the issue of decimation head on in a way that New X-Men did.
Like, I agree, because
X Factor tackled it.
So, again, to me, that's a secondary book. What I got, I will agree with Flinkman. I found it completely stupid that it's like, as soon as decimation happened, we got Golgotha. You can go.
Yes.
Like, that story was so.
Or what is Golgotha?
I still literally don't know.
I don't know either. Apparently, Duke was there. I don't know.
How did Salvador LaRocca go from drawing Extreme X-Men to that?
Yeah, and also it's like Polaris got scared, and then they're like, okay, cool, this is like fine, we're in space or whatever. Like, I honestly don't know how that story ended. Like, I have it. It's upstairs. I don't know.
It was like another goop. I don't remember. Did I say goop or dupe?
Yeah,
You said goop.
It was dumb. Regardless, it was dumb.
Gwyneth on the brain.
But I will also say that the whole 198 thing, I did not enjoy that.
No,
It made no sense.
Yeah, because it's like they wanted to like make this like they try to give us like these street level mutants, which was cool, and some of them, we'd seen before in District X, which was also like a really cool like look at, there's a huge mutant boom, so obviously there's like a mutant town in New York. Like, that actually made sense.
And it starred Bishop, which was a fantastic series.
Yeah, it was great. But then like they just didn't know what to do, and like Mammomax was like a character that they cared about in that, and that Lorelei who could do shit with her hair. I was like, I don't care about these people.
Wait, before we dive in a little bit too much, I think we all have like high feelings about Wanda. Can I ask, given the trailers we've gotten for WandaVision, what are our hopes for WandaVision?
So again, I'm hoping that what it's really going into, that first of all, I hope that it talks about mental health issues, because obviously that's what that's one of, I guess, unfortunately, but also fortunately, because it's representation, is that's one of like her character defining things now, is her mental health. Because obviously her powers are so incredibly powerful that her mental health can literally destroy the world and change it. One bad mood, one I'm mad at daddy, and everything explodes. So I hope they talk about that. And I want to see this, because of what is happening directly afterwards. Like, it's going to have repercussions, because obviously she's going to break something in the multiverse, which is then what happens with Spider-Man and then Doctor Strange. But yeah, I'm hoping that, we get to see like what's happening with all of that. I hope we actually get to find out like what her powers really are. Like, is she a reality warper, or is she just super powerful and her magics is just, ripping shit apart?
Yeah. And listen, I can actually, as much as I don't care for comic book Wanda, I can separate comic Wanda from movie Wanda. And even though I wish it had been Mary-Kate Olsen and not Elizabeth Olsen,
she's not anymore. She's
Elizabeth has done a great job with her, and then with what they've given her, and in
terrible wigs.
I mean, oh my God,
she is not Jean Grey. She does not have red hair.
She does not. She does not.
She's
I don't know. I think I'm the most interested to see, because we know mutants are coming. I guess I'm the most interested to see if Wanda's going to have something to do with that, because, Wanda somehow creating mutants in the existing MCU would be infinitely more interesting than the multiverse of madness, just merging all of the all the different Marvel films into one new one, and we have Hugh Jackman back. Like, I don't I don't want I don't want that. We can, like we said, we've done an episode about it. We can open the portal, we can look in, we can see them. But I would be interested to see Wanda creating the mutant race, like rather than no more mutants. Yes, please, mutants. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
exactly what I've said in the past.
well, you know what?
No.
I listen to you talk so much that I'm
Literally have said that. Yes, that is
I
my
learned it
hope
by
for
listening to you.
WandaVision. That is my hope for WandaVision. I think what we're going to see in WandaVision is that Wanda is in a reality constructed by herself. I think Agnes, Agatha, whatever her name is going to end up being, is enabling Wanda. She's going to be trapped in that reality. We're going to find out Vision, everyone's still dead. The twins will somehow translate into the MCU. I think she will crack open reality. We'll get either, I think Evan Peters has been rumored to be on set. So maybe he'll be another character, or maybe he'll be Quicksilver. We'll see, our MCU Quicksilver return. And I think she's going to somehow give birth to the mutants. I think whether it's, her opening up a portal with Doctor Strange and Hugh Jackman walking through, and then her being like, oh, there are other people like me and let me create them. But I think it's going to be big. And that's why we want to make sure we're covering WandaVision, because I think this is going to be a stepping stone to the mutants.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're covering this. It took some work. It took some work. I was like, WandaVision is not X-Men.
Oh my God, D'Manda, if you would have seen the fights me and Flink had behind the scenes about covering WandaVision, I'm like, I want to cover WandaVision, and exactly what he just said. But I agree with what Flink ultimately, was thinking, which is, Wanda is no longer a mutant anymore. She's a mutate, and she's
the Pretender.
And she's, an Avenger. But I do think she has a lot of roots within X-Men history. And certainly not only was she there at the inception, but a big turning point with mutants when they thought they were going to inherit the Earth. She was the one who took that away from them. And I love Messiah Complex. I love Endangered Species. I love it all up until Second Coming. AVX, hashtag not my crossover. Yeah. But I think Wanda is going to play some kind of role within the mutants.
And I can forgive Wanda Maximoff if she brings the X-Men and their full brightly colored costume glory into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I will forgive her. We can do an episode about it.
But yeah, so like I love Wanda, and like I like the idea that she has become like the boogeyman of like Krakoa or whatever, and mutants are like thriving, so they have their own island, they're doing stuff. But it's like, to me, I'm like, but will we ever truly get to really absolve her of everything? And I honestly don't think so. I think it's
Agla's boyfriend died in the lava once they were depowered. That's I know we can resurrect now, but still, that's traumatic.
Yeah, like it's just. Yeah, and we just had the thing, and I mean, I don't know what your spoiler warning is or whatever, but they just brought back like all the kids that died during that new X-Men run. Even though like fucking Melody had to like go up against Apocalypse, but sure, Wind Dancer, let's just bring her back. Like, sure.
We love Wind Dancer.
I mean, she's fine.
D'Manda, it has been so wonderful speaking with you tonight. We could talk probably for like another 6 hours. D'Manda, where can the folks at home listening find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at D'Manda, DMANDA Martini, MARTINI. And on each one of those websites, I do have a Linktree link where you can also find my RedBubble store to get your own merch. My Eleanor's New Deal Cabaret Facebook.
Flinkman's wearing it!
Which Flinkman's wearing!
It's stylish.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Again.
Like I love to get in drag, and I love to just fucking talk nerd shit. So like anytime I love it. This is literally, okay, not to get like super schmoopy, but like this is literally the reason that I started doing this stuff, was because I like to look like this, and I like to talk about stuff that I love. And the fact that I now have, this small platform that I get to like do and create like these looks that I want to do, and I get to, attend conventions and meet people, and have this sort of, I do have like, my little small fan base on social media, and I found like the X Twitter sort of like corner. Like I get to talk about this stuff all the time now, and it's just so awesome. And again, this is what I love to do. So I would love to be back whenever.
Justice for Maddie.
Justice for Maddie.
You will be here. You will be here.
We'll be here. D'Manda, again, thank you so much for your time tonight and for redoing this.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
And folks, don't forget, WandaVision premieres tomorrow on Disney Plus, and we will be reviewing and discussing every episode.